I feel like where our focus is at in helping people win and taking care of our franchisees well and giving them the right tools to be successful, I think if you just focus on that, your business will grow. And I don't think that's unique to franchising. I think that is business in general.
Jared Breen, back in the Beats Lab.
Man, it's exciting. Every time I get to do it, it's like once every 6 months to a year. So it's just...
I'm gonna scoot you over closer to me. Look at that. I know. Wow. We don't have to hold hands, but we can if you want.
Well,
if it makes you feel better.
See.
Yeah, exactly. We'll do it under the table as we do other things. So good to get you back on.
Thanks for having me.
It's going to be a bit of a different topic today than we normally have.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Do you have a dad joke, starting with the most important things?
I do. I'm gonna take it back to my baseball roots. Okay.
All right.
Why did the Scarecrow get a promotion in baseball?
I don't know.
Because he was outstanding in his field.
Yes, he was. Why do scuba divers fall backwards into the water?
I wouldn't have a clue.
Because if they fell forwards, they'd still be in the boat.
So stupid.
Love it. All right, well, let's get down to the thing. So for those of you guys listening, Jared is our, if you don't know, you probably do, but he is our VP of studio development. Is that fair?
Real estate and studio development.
Real estate and studio development. So from people signing to getting here to training, that's Jared and his team. All the 1,000,001 little steps and things that have to be done. He is walking lockstep with franchisees. Yep. So you could certainly argue that is mostly operations, all operations.
Very much so, yeah.
Very much so. Heavy ops. So recently there was a franchise development conference with a group called FranChoice, which is where we receive a good deal of our consultant leads. And I had asked Jared, because I had another commitment, if he could go. And it from the outside in, it doesn't seem like a great fit, because here's an ops guy who's going to go. Essentially what this is speed dating in a way, right? Yeah. You're pitching to a room of people. So can you go represent Alloy and pitch as the VP of a department, essentially, or a function in the business that is all operations? It doesn't seem like a likely fit, but it ended up being a really cool story. So I just want to talk about that today.
Yeah. Look forward to it.
You've never sat on the Fran Dev side, like, specifically. So what was it like? First of all, just initial thoughts. You show up to this conference. It's one of the better consulting networks, maybe the best. So every top brand is there. So what's your initial impression when you show up?
Yeah, well, to dovetail that, FranChoice puts on a great show. There's a ton of excitement. It's really well organized. They do a fantastic job. But it is a little overwhelming. Like, you're walking in and you're immediately rubbing elbows with some very successful people that have done a lot of incredible things, specifically in the franchise space. But, we're there for a reason too. So that's, you kind of go in a little bit overwhelmed, a little bit nervous, but also really excited, because me personally, at least, I'm proud of what we've done with Alloy. And, as you do, I wake up and I'm like, I can't wait to go to work.
Right.
Sometimes weekends are hard because I'm like, I'm just itching to get back to Monday morning.
So crazy.
Yeah. So it was a great show. They did everything fantastic. And ultimately I ended up having a lot of really good conversations with other well-respected franchisors and great consultants. So yeah, I told Rick coming out of it, I think before we even left, I was like, hey, I'll come to any of these that you want me to.
Yeah, exactly. Well, did you find that there was obviously we have a decent footprint and have made somewhat of an impression in that network. So did you get that instant recognition where oh, Alloy?
Oh, a ton. And it's cool to shake hands with some of the consultants that have brought us a number of leads, and then we've been able to convert and get some of these clubs open. And we're at a unique place now, at least with FranChoice, where we've got a good handful, maybe 10 plus, that are multi-units that now have multiple locations open and they're doing well. So it's cool to be able to say thanks that they recognized us. And And then to also get that back and know that like their franchisees that they took to us are well taken care of and are doing well, because that's a huge deal for them too.
Do you find that they stayed in touch with the franchisees so they know how the franchisee's doing?
It seems like everybody does.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah. Yeah, which is kind of wild to think, because I can only imagine how many conversations consultants have throughout a year with unique individuals, right?
Yeah, some candidates and some that have already been awarded, people in the process, and then people that have been awarded, and then checking in with them down the road to see how they're doing.
Which probably speaks to why FranChoice does so well too, right? It's like,
yeah, they have fewer consultants than some of the other networks, but they do a lot more volume.
yeah,
Some of the networks, good or bad, the business model is to sell to consultants. So like the business model is bring on as many consultants as you can.
right.
It'd be sort of like a real estate house where you had maybe, a 10% were doing a full-time business, and then a bunch were doing, like say you're in a residential real estate, some people are just balling out of control, and some people are selling 1 or 2 houses to their friends a year.
Yeah.
Right. On the buy or sell side. Similar with some of those, but in FranChoice, I find everyone, they're full on, right? I mean, they're doing big volume, and they really know what they're doing. And it's clear that candidates that come from those networks, like a FranChoice, are far and away better prepared
Yeah.
than the other networks where maybe they're not doing as much volume, right?
Right.
So you show up, people recognize Alloy, you're probably like somewhat nervous and also just taking it all in, right?
Yeah.
Well, as it turns out, and I knew this was going to be the case. I know it makes me sound like, oh, I already knew this was going to happen, but I really did. So the reason that I chose you was 2 reasons. One, I knew that you would represent Alloy really well, but I also thought it would be really cool, and it would show everyone what a dynamic team we have if, in fact, someone shows up who's all operations and is going to pitch in a literally a 5-minute format where you stand in front of a room full of consultants. I think you do it 4 times in the few days, right? So they split the consultant groups up into 4s, and you have a time slot. And in your time slot, it's like an hour long. You only have a 5-minute time to pitch. So I'm going to take somebody who's all ops, send you out to basically stand out there and pitch in front of a group. And in those settings, because we work with a franchise sales organization, FSO, called Repum, normally the Repum group, in these cases, whether it's Fastlane or any of these other ones, they do all the pitching. And they'll be like, by the way, my founder's here. And they'll like wave and be like, hey, and they have a few words to say. Now, knowing me, it's not surprising that in those settings, like poor Clay doesn't get a word in edgewise. I'm just like, yeah, just say, hey, I'm Clay, and you guys know me, and then move, and then I have 5 minutes of things to say. And from what I understand, it went exactly like that, where Clay just said a few things and then's like, all right, turned you loose. So what I knew is having someone who was in operations who's going to stand out there and be able to pitch Alloy and all the details around what we're doing and what our proposition is, the value proposition, would be really impressive to consultants, because then it makes our whole team look good, because they're like, man, Alloy's got it on lock. Like their whole team, like this dude's a stud. What's your role? You're in operations, and you're going to stand out here and pitch. And as I heard from everyone, including the founders of Repum, who I had dinner with last night, were like, man, Jared crushed it. But one of the details I thought was interesting was you were one of the only brand that had no notes. A lot of people have notes on their phone, and I get it. Public presenting can be terrifying for some people, but it's not like you've done it a lot. And you just stood up there with a ton of knowledge on the brand and just pitched from the, shoot from the hip, so to speak, or off the cuff. Very deliberate. Here's the things that we're doing. Here's what we're working on. There's the new initiatives that we have. But no notes, no nothing. And you're the only one in the room to do that, mind you, and you're the VP of a department that is all operations. So first of all, props to you. It made us look really good and smart, but then, and you as a person, but why do you think you're able to do that? That's a tough question, but I mean, you could say just because I'm awesome, but
there might be I might feel that way just a little bit.
That's cool.
No, it goes back to when I started here, because we didn't technically have a position for me at the time. We were still 6 months away from launching franchising. And we weren't sure I was even going to make it onto the franchise side yet. It was needed to be earned. And so you doing what a good leader does gave me opportunities to succeed, and maybe equally as important, to fail. And so you put me on the gym side for the first 8 months that I was a part of the team. So I got to see the inner workings of the business, like on the ground floor, which you and I talked about going into franchising, was just how important it is to have your first, at least your original team that understands what a franchisee is going through. So from that side, it was really simple. Like, I get our brand. Like, I lived it and I understand it, and I worked sat in pretty much every seat on the gym side. And so I got to see how we work. But now, 6 years in, just about into franchising, we've got a great meeting schedule through EOS. And it's a very clear picture of like what's happening within the entirety of the business and not just within a department. So it's not, when nobody's isolated in this, there's full accountability and full transparency throughout the entire thing. It seems like that's unique across a lot of businesses. I mean, talking to friends of mine that are great business people, it's like they don't even know what's going on within their company. So I think that's one thing that we do really well and different. My team knows the same information that I know for the most part, right? And it's just very clear. So that gives me the confidence because there's nothing to hide, right? I'm not hiding from you and you're not hiding from me,
right?
At least in the sales and operations side. So when I can go stand in front of somebody, I'm like, I already know what's happening,
Yeah,
Super
just based
simple.
on, you think about like running EOS, right? Every week we go through each person's rocks, if you will, or whatever we're trying to accomplish that quarter. We look at metrics because that's how we measure how we're doing. So I know what's going on with construction, real estate. I know what's going on with pre-sale, Matt's side, club performance. I know what Suzanne's working on from like legal or franchise document standpoint. Chamberlain's working on tech, right? Things she's doing, updating me on that. So I might not know exactly every detail, but I know where we stand, right?
Yeah.
But if you think about the clarity of that, that's what allows someone who's in operations, while you did have the advantage of, working in the business for a while, like the actual business that we do, I think it does help. But to be able to be in operations and still know everything about what our new initiatives are and what our value proposition is, right?
Yeah.
To the consumer, which is what you're pitching to the consultant, right?
Yeah, it breeds a ton of confidence.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we heard was like, dang, is everybody on your team like this? I was like, yes. Pretty much. You know what I mean?
In fact.
And I meant that, I really did. And so like, it's certainly not to take away from like, you have a certain poise. I think one of the directors at Repham, his name's Kerry. He's been on the podcast before. He was like, man, Jared crushed. He's like, that's leadership. So in a lot of ways, the way that you presented, right? Calm, confident, no notes, full knowledge of what it is that we do and what our value propositions are. He was like, that's leadership 101. So like he stands up there as like a leader, stands out in a group of really good other franchises and franchisors and founders. And you just step up and like basically own the room, which is really cool, right? I mean, I would say everybody else on our team could do it. I don't know if that's the case. A lot of it's just how you're wired, but everyone was totally impressed, which I know. And I heard a lot from consultants that I know personally who text me and it's like, man, Jared's a stud. He's really cool. And I know they're saying that through the lens of like, wow, that's awesome. Here's an operations guy.
It's big shoes to fill.
I mean, really, apparently you did it great. So everyone joked to me and they're like, hey, you don't ever have to come out anymore. Jared's our guy. I'm like, Jared's an operations guy. You don't have time for that crap, But it was good to know that like I could toss you in there. I knew it. And it made us look really smart.
Well,
so
thanks. I appreciate that.
And no nerves or anything, huh?
It's just fun, man. This is fun. What we do is fun.
I agree.
I don't dread any moment of it. It's exciting. Why would it not be? As our, a lot of the confidence also comes from our core values. I think we live those out, and you and I have talked about that on the podcast previous. And our goal is to help people win. And that's from our tagline of Stronger Together, and right from us to the franchisee and franchisee to the clients, the members. I want to help people win. So why would I not enjoy that?
Yeah. And even, the end result of what we do helps the end users, which is why like conference, we have Stronger Together awards. We actually added an extra person this year because we were so motivated by her story.
Yeah.
So what we do in market is amazing, but we also help people win by helping them become entrepreneurs and be successful. So you give them a vehicle for that. But you even come a step further. It's like, okay, well, we're helping consultants win because we're giving them
Great
a
point.
viable business model that they can present to a candidate who wants purpose and knows that they want to get ahead of the health thing. You know, we got a lot of physicians that are maybe on the back end that are like, I want to get ahead of this thing. I don't want to treat sick people. I want to prevent people from getting sick, right? So they're winning, and then even all the way through to Replum, because we're trying to give them a viable, model that they can take to market and essentially sell, right, or present. And so it really wins all the way through if we're doing a good job.
A really good point.
Yep, for sure. So, all right, so that's that. Now, when you get back, so you go, there's the, whoa, I'm here, this is crazy. You start meeting everyone, you settle in, you realize that the brand is doing decent in these networks, right? They're recognizing you as such. Then you pitch, you're stoked, you nailed it. You get back, you have a few days to digest. What's your thought in hindsight?
Great question. So sitting in my role, it does feel from the Fran Dev side, it does feel a little bit isolating, not in a bad way. It's because we fully trust you leading that charge, and there's nobody better suited to do that than you. But you do wonder, like, how much of what Rick is saying is happening in the market? Like, how much truth to that is there?
So I come back from like a conference and I'm like, hey, conference was great.
Things are going great.
Here's what happened. Here's how it worked. And then you're kind of like, okay, but you haven't like viscerally felt it,
right?
Put your hands on it.
Right. Yeah. So that first feeling was like, can confirm true. Like there is truly good things being said, and that's exciting. And there's a little bit of pride and honor in representing the brand because of that. But on another side, from an isolation standpoint, I think we kind of are that way as a brand, and not in a bad way. Franchising is a business of its own. And I don't know if we are like fully dug in on that. And I think that's okay, because our focus from the very beginning has been to treat franchisees well, give them all the tools to be successful. And then if we do that well, we feel like we're going to do well, and that will grow our franchise. And that's how I felt coming out of that, was like, this is all really good stuff, but I feel like where our focus is at in helping people win and taking care of our franchisees well and giving them the right tools to be successful, I think if you just focus on that, your business will grow. And I don't think that's unique to franchising. I think that is business in general, right? So I would say that's the biggest takeaway I had coming out of that, was what we're doing. I think the focus and how we're doing it is the right way to look at it. And if we just do that and we just focus on taking care of people and doing the right things, it will continue to bode well for us in the long run.
Yeah, I think the authenticity of that, it's felt in every fiber of every bit of communication and things that you do. There's some players in the franchise space that we know that to boost sales, they will do things like, say, they would give the full franchise fee in commission back to the consultant, right? Obviously, that's going to get more consultants interested in you, because let's just say our franchise fee is $60 for single location. By the time we will pay out $30 to the consultant, and then we pay Replum, and there's about 20% left on the bone for us, right? Whereas if you're paying the full boat commission to the consultant, you're going to get more eyeballs. So you're buying the business, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, right? And then you can do things like, okay, when your franchisees come to training, you can refund them some of their money. So it feels like you're mitigating some of their risk if they just see it through. All great sales tactics, but typically you just have to be cautious in those structures, because it's really just focused on sales, right? And there's nothing wrong. You have to have a sales process to award someone to then, help them. But some of these organizations have had a track record of a lot of what we call SNOs, so sold not open. You start out with a lot deep pockets. Maybe you've got venture capital money or seed money that you've had from other business interests, and you're just going to go full ham on sales. There's maybe not as much attention to the people that buy it, and do they get open and do they make money?
Yeah.
Right. Which was sort of the downfall in some of these other organizations, was like a lot of smoke and mirrors, lots of sales activity, not a lot of meat on the bone for the franchisee, which, we don't like because it just leaves a bad taste in people's mouths about franchising overall, especially if it's in the health and wellness space, right? Mm-hmm. So for us, it's always been like, look, since 92, we've been in the business. Before we came to franchising for 15 years, we coached all kinds of concepts and clubs on how to be successful in their local market. That's what we do. And I think if I was a potential franchisee, that's what I would want to hear. That would be the most important thing to me. I don't care about my sales. They don't care about my sales process to develop new franchises. They're going to invest their money. Can you help me as a partner be successful in my local market?
Yeah.
If we just stay focused on that, I feel like sales, retention, franchisee satisfaction, the customers themselves, their satisfaction, that will take care of everything. I mean, it will literally take care of like retention, again, happiness, again, satisfaction of franchisees. Mm-hmm. And again, if everybody's making money and doing well, that takes care of sales as well. So I agree with you. We're a bit different in the sense that that's our main focus. To your point, franchising can be a business in and of itself. And there's a lot of things around there, activities and things that you can do. And some of them, I would argue, don't necessarily move the needle for the franchisee. It's almost like you're in two businesses, right?
Yeah.
We tend to, because of our, and I say lack of experience in franchising, doesn't mean we're not doing the right things. We don't know what we're doing. If I was a potential franchisee, I would want to hear like, oh, so these guys are just going to stay focused on me and make sure I'm successful. Yeah, that's the whole point to me. Yeah. Right? It takes care of everything else. So I don't care what ABC franchisor over here is doing that's just giving leases on Ferraris away to consultants that send them the most leads.
Right.
I get it. But that doesn't matter to me unless the people that invested their hard-earned money, and I looked them in the eye and said, we're going to be fractionalized partners with you, that I can deliver on that promise. I mean, I don't want to leave a legacy of 3,500 snows, right? Because we just went full ham on sales. And then the whole thing was a house of cards. Like it just doesn't, you don't have to do that.
I heard a lot of grumblings of that too.
You did?
Yeah. While I was there, I mean, it's a sales organization.
Yeah.
So sales are talked about. And so you definitely heard some of that, I think most people feel, maybe unless you're sitting in that seat, that's a little bit of a short-sighted, view on your business. I don't think we fit into that, but you brought up our quote unquote lack of franchise experience, just with us being a relatively young organization and franchising. And I just didn't get the notion of that from any conversation that I had with franchisors nor consultants. I felt like everybody said the opposite of like your experience. I know when I put a franchisee in front of you, I know how they're going to be treated. And I know what to expect in the process of them going from signing to open and then onward. Like, I think our lack of experience is hardly that at all. I mean, we've been around for 30 plus years. Everybody knows that at this stage.
Right.
And now I think everybody feels that.
Right. And I think the lack of experience is speaking to
just franchising.
Yeah. And probably the uglier parts of franchising we haven't been exposed to because our North Star has always been franchisee success. That's it. Take care of them. Everything takes care of itself. I don't want to be too exposed to all the other moving parts and just a bunch of activity that ultimately it's like we always talk about, keep the main thing, right? Yeah. Like, I don't want to know like the tricks of this or that. Like our franchise system, we're still growing really fast, as fast, if not faster than any other fitness concept, period. Right. So it's like, it's not like we're not growing, but I'm really proud of the way that we're doing it, right? That we're doing it with integrity and we're doing it with the focus on the franchisee, not the focus on the franchise business only. And yes, they're one and the same, but I think where you put your emphasis is really important.
Totally agree.
Cool.
Totally agree.
Well, that's it. I just wanted to get your impressions. I haven't had a chance to even sit down and debrief with you since you got back, but first of all, thank you. You're a stud and you made us look really smart. And the feedback was amazing. And again, it's like, I knew it. It was so fun to send like a hard ops guy in to pitch for sales. And you stood up there and pitched it better than any other brand that was in that room. It's like, that's friggin' cool. So props to you.
I received that. Thank you for the opportunity.
So you want to go to another one?
I think we're going to New Orleans in January, right?
Yeah, I love it. I'll be sitting home getting fat and happy. Jared's now a road warrior. I love it. Welcome to my world. We'll have to promote him to, well, I don't even know what. Chief Promoting Officer or something. Chief Branding Officer. Some weird title.
I guess we get to choose, right?
Yeah, all you gotta do is like work out, look really good, be able to stand up there and spit fire. You're solid.
Yeah, perfect. It sounds right up my alley.
All right, buddy. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right, peace.